Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the most controversial, the most luxurious, and the most mind-blowing investigation we have ever conducted. We all know the legendary tale of BTS 7 boys who rose from the dust of a bankrupt agency, sleeping in one cramped room, eating cheap convenience store food, and fighting against the world to wear the crown they possess today. It is the ultimate underdog story that has inspired millions across the globe. But hang on a second. What if I told you that amidst those stories of struggle, there were whispers of golden spoons clinking in the background? What if some of these members weren't just fighting for survival, but were actually stepping out of ivory towers to experience the real world? The internet detectives have been working overtime digging through family history, blurred graduation photos, and obscure business registries. And what they found might just shatter your perception of the dirt spoon narrative. We are talking about CEO fathers, high-ranking executives, prestigious backgrounds, and generational wealth that has been carefully hidden under the guise of humility. Tonight, we are peeling back the curtain on the rumors, the receipts, and the reality. Who are the members suspected of having parents who are practically chabots? Who has been pretending to be an ordinary guy while sitting on a potential corporate empire? And who is the member sitting at number 1? The one who arguably hid his massive wealth the best? Is it the Prince of Guashin? Or is there a darker horse in this race of riches? Prepare your hearts and open your minds, because things are about to get expensive. Are you ready to see who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth? Let's dive into the top 7 BTS members whose parents are actually chaebol. Number 7. Kim Taehyung, the living Gucci model who tricked the world. A prince born not in a palace, but in a strawberry farm. We kick off our investigation at the bottom of our list, or should we say, the opening chapter of this saga of wealth and deception, with the man who arguably holds the title for the most expensive visual in the entire K-pop industry. He is the man who looks like he was born wearing silk pajamas, sipping tea in a Gangnam penthouse while overlooking his father's corporate empire. Yes! We are talking about number 7, the visual god, Kim Taehyung, also known as V. When you look at V, what do you see? You see an aura of aristocracy that simply cannot be taught. You see a young man who strolls through the airports of Paris and New York, draped in head-to-toe luxury brands Gucci, cardio wearing them with such casual nonchalance that you would assume he has been dressing this way since he was in diapers. His features are so symmetrical, so sharp, and so refined that plastic surgeons have dubbed him CGV because he looks like a computer-generated graphic of the perfect human male. With that kind of face and that kind of expensive atmosphere, the rumors naturally started swirling from the moment BTS began to gain traction. Netizens whispered, surely, he must be the son of a fashion mogul, or his family must own a chain of luxury hotels. How else could someone possess such inherent How else could someone understand high fashion so intuitively? The world looked at Kim Taehyung and saw a chaebol prince. But here is where the story takes a sharp, emotional, and shocking turn, landing him at number 7 on our list, the member whose chaebol status is the ultimate illusion, a mirage created by his own innate star power rather than his father's bank account. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the reality of Kim Taehyung's background is so vastly different from his image that it feels like a movie. Script written to make you cry. Let's rewind the clock. Far away from the flashing lights of Seoul, far away from the skyscrapers and the stock markets, we are going to Gyeongsang, not the bustling metropolis of Seoul, not the port city of Busan, but the quiet, rural, agricultural heartland of South Korea. While the world suspected V was the heir to a corporate throne, the truth is that our number 7 was born into a family of farmers. Yes, you heard that right. The hands that now wear diamond rings and sign multi-million-dollar contracts were originally destined to pick strawberries and till the soil. Taehyung has been incredibly open, yet heartbreakingly humble about his upbringing. He didn't grow up attending elite private schools with drivers waiting for him at the gate. Instead, he was raised primarily by his grandmother, a woman he loved more than anyone else in the world, in a humble environment that taught him the value of family and simplicity over material wealth. The Chaebol rumors are shattered instantly when you hear his childhood dream. Before the music, before the fame, Kim Taehyung didn't dream of being a CEO or taking over a family business. He wanted to be a farmer, just like his grandmother. Can you imagine it? The man who now sends the internet into a meltdown with a single Instagram post was preparing himself for a life of agriculture. This stark contrast is what places him at number 7. He represents the absolute bottom of the socioeconomic ladder in terms of the conglomerate ranking. Yet he projects the highest image of wealth. But the story gets deeper and more touching, adding layers to why people might have mistaken him for a rich kid. There is a famous tear-jerking story from his pre-debut days that perfectly encapsulates the fake Chaebol narrative. When Taehyung was preparing to move to Seoul to join Big Hit Entertainment, a small, struggling company at the time, his mother was terrified. She wasn't afraid of his talent. She was afraid that the city boys, the cool kids from Seoul, would look down on her son because he came from the countryside. In a desperate act of love, sacrificing what little money they likely had, his mother bought him a very expensive, bright red North Face jacket. In South Korea, at that time, those jackets were status symbols, worn by the trendy and the affluent. She didn't want him to be bullied. She wanted him to fit in. So, when V arrived in the dorms, wearing this flashy, expensive jacket, the other members who were also broke and struggling initially thought, wow, this guy must be rich. Look at that jacket! It was a misunderstanding born from a mother's love. The members thought he was a spoiled rich kid or a chaebol son trying to play idol. But in reality, that jacket was a shield. A piece of armor bought with blood, sweat, and tears to protect a country boy from the judgment of the city. When the truth eventually came out, it didn't just clear up a misunderstanding. It bonded the members for life. It showed that V's expensive look was a facade constructed to survive. Furthermore, let's dig into the Prince persona. Why does he feel so much like royalty? It's not old money. It's old soul. V's father, whom he respects and adores, wasn't a CEO of Samsung, or he was a man who struggled and worked hard to provide for his family. Taehyung often cites his father as his role model, not because of his financial success, but because of his character, his fashion sense, and his kindness. The chaebol vibe V gives off is actually a mimicry of his father's style, the classic, gentlemanly aesthetic that V admired as a child. He wasn't copying a magazine. He was copying his hero. This makes the chaebol suspicion even more poignant. The world sees money! V sees his dad. When he wears a suit, when he plays a saxophone, an instrument often associated with the jazz-loving upper class. But in his case, a skill learned in school band. He is channeling a personal history, not a financial one. The internet detectives who went digging for dirt on V's background came back with nothing but wholesome stories of a boy who listened to trot music, and loved his grandma. There were no hidden stocks, no secret real estate holdings under his name, and no board of directors meetings. However, the irony is delicious. Today, Kim Taehyung is a chaebol, not by birth, not by inheritance, but by his own making. He's a self-made conglomerate. He went from the boy who might have been a strawberry farmer to a man who can sell out a product globally in seconds. He creates the V effect. If he touches a book, it becomes a bestseller. If he wears a brooch designed by an independent artist, their business explodes. He holds the economic power that rivals the very CEOs people thought his father was. But putting him at number 7 is essential because he represents the zero-to hero archetype in its purest form. He is the control group in this experiment. He proves that you don't need the bloodline to wear the crown. The suspicion that he was rich was a compliment to his carriage, his demeanor, and his confidence. But the reality of his poverty and humble beginnings is what makes him a legend. He fooled us all. Not with lies, but with a natural dignity that money can't buy. So, while he isn't the son of a chaebol, he is the king of our hearts. Proving that nobility comes from the soul, not the wallet. But if V is the one with the humble background who simply looks rich, what about the others? What about the members whose backgrounds are a little murkier, a little more comfortable? And perhaps a little more suspicious? As we move up the list, the bank accounts start to swell. The rumors get more specific. And the privileged whispers start to hold a little more water. Who is next? Who is the member that actually grew up with a silver spoon? Or at least a silver-plated one? Prepare yourself, because we are leaving the farm and heading into the city! Number 6. Suga, Min Yoongi, the savage king who spits fire on capitalism. A musical genius forged in the fires of poverty and ramen cups. Moving up the ladder, we leave the strawberry fields of Jiushang and descend into the gritty, neon-lit streets of day to investigate the man who carries himself with the swagger of a mafia boss and the intellect of a Silicon Valley CEO. We are talking about the one, the only Min Yoongi, known to the world as, and to his enemies, as Auguste. If you were to judge a book by its cover, or in this case, a rapper by his music videos, you would bet your entire life savings that this man was born into power. Have you seen the Detchwitta music video? He plays a king. He walks with a lazy, unbothered confidence that screams, I have so much money! I don't even need to try. He talks about money, success, and Rolexes with a familiarity that suggests he's been counting bills since kindergarten. Netizens and new fans often look at his pale, flawless skin, his refined taste in expensive whiskeys, his love for silence and basketball, and his absolute refusal to do anything he doesn't want to do, and they think, that is the behavior of a spoiled young master. He has that tsundere rich boy vibe found in every Kadroma, the cold, aloof heir who secretly has a warm heart. Rumors have flown around for years. Is his father a high-ranking government official? Is his family secretly controlling the underground music scene in Day? The aura of Min Yoongi is so commanding, so intimidating, that it feels like he owns the building the moment he walks in. Surely, a man with this much Han, a Korean concept of deep sorrow and resentment transformed into energy, must have inherited a legacy of power. Well, stop right there, because if you think Suga's a chaebol kid, you are looking at the wrong side of the coin. Place him at number 6 because his story is the most aggressive debunking of the rich kid myth you will ever hear. A story so raw, it feels like a documentary on survival. While V's story was about rural humility, Suga's story is about urban warfare against poverty. The reason he talks about money so much in his lyrics isn't because he always had it. It's because he was desperate for it. Let's peel back the layers of the Genius Lab. Min Yoongi didn't grow up in a penthouse. He grew up in a household that was actively hostile to his dreams. Not because they were elites who wanted him to study business, but because they were a working-class family terrified that music would lead him to starvation. And they went entirely wrong to be worried. The details of Suga's pre-debut life are enough to make you shiver. We are talking about a teenager who had to make a daily, impossible choice that no child should have to make. If I eat this bowl of noodles for 2001, about $2, I won't have enough money for the bus ride home and I'll have to walk for 2 hours. Can you imagine the current global ambassador of the NBA? A man who sells out stadiums in seconds? Standing in front of a street stall, counting coins, debating between hunger and exhaustion. That was his reality. He wasn't composing beats on a state-of-the-art Mac Pro gifted by Daddy. He was scamming his way into selling beats for pennies, often getting ripped off by older people in the industry who saw a desperate kid and took advantage of him. He would write a song, sell it for a pittance, and still not have enough to buy dinner. But the chaebol suspicion completely disintegrates when we talk about the accident. This is the part of the documentary where the music stops and the screen goes black. During his trainee days, trying to make ends meet because his family couldn't support him in Seoul, Suga worked as a delivery boy. One rainy day, he was hit by a car. A chaebol son would be airlifted to the best hospital, surrounded by lawyers and private doctors. Min Yoongi? He picked himself up off the wet asphalt, looked at his dislocated, shattered shoulder, and hid it. He hid the injury from his agency, Big Hit, because he was terrified that if they knew he was damaged goods, they would fire him, and his one chance at escaping poverty would be gone. He'd lived with that pain, nursing a broken shoulder in silence, dancing through the agony for years. Does that sound like a conglomerate heir to you? It sounds like a warrior fighting for his life. The arrogance or laziness people sometimes misinterpret as actually the physical and mental exhaustion of a man who has worked himself to the bone. His parents, unlike the supportive patrons of the arts we see in Kabul families, actually threw away his lyric books and MIDI equipment at one point, trying to shock him into a stable career path like a civil servant. The tension was so high that for a long time his family didn't even attend his concerts. This isn't the story of a golden spoon. It's the story of a rusty spoon sharpened into a knife. So why is he on this list of suspected chaebol? Because he fooled the world with his success. He flipped the script so hard that he became the provider. He is the one who paid off his family's debts. He is the one who opened a restaurant for his brother. He bought a luxury apartment in UN Village, one of the most exclusive enclaves in Korea, with cash. He walks around with the confidence of old money because he knows he built his empire brick by brick, beat by beat. He is at number 6 because while his parents were definitely not chaebol, Min Yoongi has become a one-man corporation, a conglomerate of talent and royalties. He embodies the flex culture not because he inherited it, but because he earned the right to wear it. The suspected rich kid turned out to be the rags to riches emperor. But as we move past the struggling artists, the waters begin to get murky. The next members on our list didn't have to choose between noodles and the bus. Their backgrounds are stable. Their parents are professionals. And the chaebol whispers start to have a little more substance. Who is next? Is it the golden maknae? Or perhaps the leader of the group? Get ready! Because the bank accounts are starting to look a little healthier as we approach the top 5. Number 5. J-Hope, Jung Ho-seok, the sunshine billionaire who wears luxury-like pajamas. A dynasty of discipline disguised as a dance empire. We have left the humble farms and the gritty streets behind, and now we are stepping into the realm of the golden middle. The bridge between the struggle and the splendor. Sitting comfortably at number 5 is the man who lights up the world with his smile, yet blinds us with his wristwatch. We are talking about the dance commander, the fashion icon, the one and only J-Hope. If you take a scroll through J-Hope's Instagram or look at his airport fashion, you are immediately hit with a tsunami of wealth. We are talking about limited edition cos figures that cost more than a car. Head to Louis Vuitton, ensembles, and a sister, Jung Ji, who is literally a CEO of her own fashion empire and manages a multi-million-dollar brand. The Jung family name in Gwangju seems to carry a weight of influence and affluence that screams chaebol. Fans have often speculated, surely a family that produces 2 fashion moguls, 1 idol and 1 CEO must have deep pockets and business connections. The way J-Hope carries himself with that impeccable politeness, that structured discipline, and that taste for the finer things in life suggests a background of high society. He doesn't just wear clothes. He curates art. He doesn't just dance. He leads. This kind of leadership often comes from a lineage of executives. So, is J-Hope the secret heir to a textile giant? Is his father a silent partner in a major conglomerate? Ladies and gentlemen, the truth about number 5 is a fascinating study in intellectual wealth rather than corporate wealth. While the internet detectives were looking for a CEO father, they found something arguably more intimidating. A literature teacher. Yes! Jung Ho-seok's father was a high school literature teacher, a profession in South Korea that commands immense respect and stability, but is far from the chaebol billionaire narrative. But don't let the word teacher fool you into thinking this was an ordinary upbringing. This is where the story gets juicy and explains why he ranks higher than V or Suga. In Korea, a teacher, especially a stern literature teacher, represents the pillar of the middle upper class. It means stability. It means culture. It means expectations. While Suga was fighting for scraps, J-Hope was fighting for approval. The chaebol suspicion around J-Hope stems from the fact that he was heavily supported in his expensive passion, dance. Do you know how much it costs to attend a prestigious dance academy like the one J-Hope attended in Gwangju? The tuition, the gear, the travel it requires a family with disposable income. his parents could afford to support his dream, sending him to the Joy Dance Academy, often called the Sungri Academy back then, which is the elite breeding ground for idols. This financial safety net allowed J-Hope to focus entirely on his craft without the gnawing hunger of poverty. But here is the twist that adds the emotional depth we crave. J-Hope's father was initially dead set against his son becoming a dancer. It wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of prestige. A literature teacher wants a scholar son, not a street dancer. The conflict in the Jung household wasn't, can we afford this? It was, is this worthy of our family? This dynamic mimics the high-stakes drama of chaebol families seen in K-dramas like Sky Castle, where the pressure is mental, not financial. J-Hope had to prove himself not to pay the bills, but to win the respect of his stern father. There is a legendary story where J-Hope danced in the living room with no music. Just the sound of his breath and his feet to show his father his determination. That level of dedication won his father over. Once he had that support, the golden path opened up. His mother, a woman of incredible strength, worked jobs specifically to fund his dance tuition in Seoul, ensuring he had the best chance at success. This isn't the chaebol story of inheriting a company, but it is the story of a privileged start compared to the bottom two. He had a safety net. If he failed, he had a home to go back to. Furthermore, the rich kid vibes are amplified by his sister, Jiwoo. People see her success as a CEO and assume it came from family money. The reality. The Jung siblings are simply grafters with immense talent. They didn't inherit a business. They built two separate empires from the same genetic code of hard work and style. J-Hope sits at number 5 because his background provided the launchpad, the expensive lessons, the stable home, the lack of financial desperation that allowed his talent to bloom early. He represents the upper middle class dream. He wasn't born into the 1%, but he was born into the top 20%. With access to resources that V and Suga could only dream of. The chaebol suspicion is understandable because J exudes the confidence of someone who has never known true insecurity. He has the rich energy of someone who knows he is loved and supported. Today, he buys multi-million-dollar apartments in the Trimmage complex, the celebrity castle of Seoul, for his parents, flipping the script so that he is the one making them. He turned the stability of a teacher's salary into the astronomical wealth of a global superstar. So, while his father didn't hand him a black card, he handed him something more valuable, the discipline to fill that black card himself. He is the Prince of Gwangju, not by blood, but by beat. But now, as we move into the top 4, the definition of stability changes. We are entering the territory where struggle becomes a foreign concept. The next members on the list didn't just have stability. They had abundance. Who are the members who grew up in the affluent districts? Who had the path paved with gold bricks? The top 4 is where the real money begins to show. Number 4. Jimin, Park Jimin, the Prince of Busan, who inherited elegance, a business empire built on coffee and kindness. Welcome to number 4, the spot reserved for the man who defines the very word ethereal. We're talking about the it boy of the century. The global ambassador for Dior and Tiffany & Co. The one and only Park Ji. When you look at Jimin, you don't just see a pop star. You see a living, breathing work of art. His movements are fluid like water. His speech is soft and polite like a well-bred aristocrat. And his taste in fashion, from the $20,000 jackets to the rare Patek Philippe old money. There is a specific aura around Jimin that suggests he has never touched a dirty dish in his life, even though we know he has. Netizens have long speculated about his background because of his specific educational path. He was the top student at the prestigious Busan High School of Arts, entering the Department of Modern Dance. Do you know how rare that is? And do you know how expensive it is to train a child in modern dance to that level of elite proficiency? Private lessons, specialized gear, competition fees. It is a financial black hole that only well-off families can usually sustain. The chaebol rumors ignited because Jimin carries himself with a noblesse oblige attitude, the idea that the wealthy and privileged are obliged to help the less fortunate. He doesn't just act rich. He acts noble. So, Is he the secret son of a shipping magnate in Busan? Is his family controlling the ports? The reality places him firmly at number 4 because while he isn't the son of a Samsung executive, he's the heir to a legitimate, thriving business empire that has made his father a local celebrity in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world of magnate. Minen's father owns and operates a massive industrial chic cafe in Busan called Magnate, but calling it a cafe is like calling the Buckingham Palace a house. It is a sprawling complex, a destination, a sanctuary that attracts thousands of visitors from around the globe. This isn't a small mom-and-pop shop. It is a serious business venture that generates significant revenue. In the world of chaebols, owning property and running a successful enterprise is the first step to dynasty status. The chaebol vibe is reinforced by his father's status in the community. Mr. Park is not just a business owner. He is a philanthropist of the highest order, behaving exactly like the benevolent chairman of a major conglomerate. He has donated hundreds of millions of won to the Busan Department of Education, providing scholarships for low-income students. He sends discreet donations to the freezing and the hungry. This behavior, donating large sums of money to social causes, is a classic hallmark of the rich and powerful in Korean society. Jimin didn't just inherit good genes. He inherited a legacy of community leadership. Let's dig deeper into the prince narrative. Unlike the survival stories of V or Suga, Jimin's pre-debut struggles were internal, not financial. He battled with his own perfectionism, his own body image, and the immense pressure to succeed. But he did so with a financial safety net that was arguably stronger than J-Hope. When he moved to Seoul, his family could support him. They were the rock he could lean on. There is a story that circulates among fans about Jimin's dad sending flowers and gifts to Jimin's teachers and the agency. A gesture of politeness and greasing the wheels that is very common among the upper middle class in Korea. It shows a family that understands social etiquette and has the means to execute it. This places him above J-Hope because the scale of the family business magnate. And the volume of public donations suggest a higher tier of disposable wealth. The Magnate Cafe displays Jimin's hats and memorabilia like a museum, turning the family business into a shrine to their son's success, further intertwining their wealth with his fame. It is a symbiotic relationship of success. Furthermore, consider Minen's demeanor. He has the Gangnam style despite being from Busan. He adapted to the high life instantly. Why? Because he was raised in an environment that valued art, culture, and presentation. His father's involvement in the local Rotary Club Global Service organization, often populated by business leaders and professionals, signals that Jimin grew up surrounded by the local elite. He wasn't playing in the mud. He was likely attending functions, learning how to bow correctly to elders, and understanding the nuances of social hierarchy. This grooming is what makes him appear so princely today. When he sips champagne in a private jet, it looks natural. When he attends a state dinner at the White House or the Blue House, he looks like he belongs there. This is the soft power of wealth. However, the reason he is only a number 4 and not number 1 is that his family's wealth, while substantial, is local wealth rather than national conglomerate wealth. They are the kings of their district in Busan, renowned and respected, but they don't own skyscrapers in Seoul or control the stock market yet. Jimin is the Prince of Busan, a title that fits perfectly. He represents the business class, the families who own the restaurants, the factories, the local landmarks. They are the backbone of the economy, wealthy enough to live luxuriously, but humble enough to serve their customers personally. Jimin's chaebol ranking is solid because he has turned his name into a brand that has likely increased his family's net worth tenfold. He is the dutiful son who took the silver spoon he was born with and turned it into a diamond spoon. He didn't have to fight poverty, but he fought for perfection. And that is a luxury afforded to those who aren't worrying about their next meal. The Z_magnate empire stands as a testament to the Park family's business acumen, proving that Jimin's success is just one branch of a very successful family tree. But as we ascend to the top 3, the scale changes again. We are moving from local business owners to national elite. The next three members have backgrounds that brush shoulders with the true definitions of power and prestige. Who are they? Who is the member whose brain is as expensive as his background? Who is the one with the CEO vibe that isn't an act? The air is getting thinner, and the wallets are getting thicker. Number 3. Jungkook. Jungkook, the golden magnate of the Golden Clan, a mystery bloodline of artistic aristocracy. We have arrived at the bronze medal position, the gateway to the top 3, and things are getting incredibly mysterious. We are moving away from the clear-cut stories of teacher or business owner and entering the realm of the golden enigma. Sitting at number 3 is the man who can do absolutely anything. Dance, box, paint, film, cook and succeed on the first try. He is the global pop star who stopped traffic in Qatar, the Calvin Klein icon who broke the internet with a denim jacket. We are talking about the golden magnate, Taehyung. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't Jungkook just a talented kid from Busan? But that's where the chaebol suspicion starts to creep in. Look at the way he lives. Look at the way he spends. Jungkook doesn't just buy things. He acquires assets. At a young age, he was buying apartments in the prestigious Seoul Forest Trimmage for cash. He bought a massive detached house in Itawanta neighborhood of diplomats and true old money for over $7 million. And then proceed to tear it down to build a custom mansion. This isn't just idle money. This is the behavior of someone who understands real estate and legacy. Netizens have looked at this fearless approach to value assets and asked, where did he learn this? Does the Chun family hold a secret empire in Busan? Let's investigate the vampire parents. One of the biggest clues to Jungkook's privileged vibe is his parents themselves. They are famously young, incredibly stylish, and remarkably cool. His father, in particular, has been spotted wearing outfits that rival Jungkook's in terms of trendiness and cost. There is a cool dad energy, but there is also a wealthy dad. Energy, the kind of dad who spends his weekends bowling, an expensive hobby in Korea if done professionally, and drawing art. The rumor mill has always churned with the idea that Jungkook's father might be a hidden figure in the art or design world, or perhaps a free spirit investor who made his fortune early and retired to enjoy life. The logic follows. Only a family with significant financial freedom allows their youngest son to drop out of the traditional education rat race at 15 to pursue a gamble like in a country obsessed with academic stability. The Chun family's relaxed. Supportive attitudes suggest they had a safety net so thick that failure was never a fear. They didn't need Jungkook to be a doctor. They could afford for him to be a star. But why is he at number 3? Higher than the business owner's son Jimin? Because of the golden gene theory. In the world of edutainment rankings, wealth isn't just cash, it's genetics. Jungkook is often called the golden spoon, not because of money, but because he inherited a monopoly on talent. His brother is a talented artist and animator. His father draws beautifully. His mother is athletic and sharp. This suggests a lineage of cultural elites families who are rich in talent and likely successful in creative industries. While Jimin's family represents commercial wealth magnate, Jungkook's family represents artistic aristocracy. He moves with the freedom of a prince who has never been told no. The chaebol suspicion here is abstract but potent. He acts like the heir to a kingdom of talent. Furthermore, let's talk about the Bam Mansion. Jungkook is building a literal fortress in Seoul. The scale of his construction projects and his tastes for the absolute best hand Doberman breeding. Custom motorcycles, rare cooking ingredients signals a upbringing that normalized quality. He doesn't settle. He has a palate of a gourmet and the eye of a curator. This refinement usually comes from exposure. Did he grow up traveling? Did his parents expose him to high culture early on? The mystery of the Chun background places him at number 3 because unlike the others whose backgrounds are clear, Jungkook's remains a black box of potential wealth. We don't know exactly what his dad does, and in the world of the ultra-rich, silence is often the ultimate sign of power. Is he the son of a Busan real estate mogul? Or Just a genetic lottery winner? Either way, he stands on the podium of privilege, ready to pass the baton to the true heavyweights. Because as rich as Jungkook is, the next two members have backgrounds that are literally tied to the corporate history of South Korea. We are done with suspicions. We are moving to connections. Who sits at number 2? Is it the leader with the brain of a CEO? Or the visual with the dad who actually is a CEO? Number 2. RM Kim Namjoon, the corporate crown prince of the SK Empire. A genius leader bred for the boardroom but destined for the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the silver medalist. The vice president of our hidden Chaebol investigation. And the atmosphere has shifted from arts and culture to hard corporate power. If Jungkook was the mystery of the artistic elite. Number 2 is the transparency of the corporate elite. We are talking about the man who speaks at the United Nations with the poise of a seasoned diplomat. The man who holds a black card with an IQ of 148 to match. The leader of the revolution, RM. When you look at Kim Namjoon, do you see a rapper? Or do you see a future president? There is a reason why the joke RM for president exists. It's not just because he is smart. It's because he exudes the specific, polished, high society aura of someone raised in the upper echelons of South Korea's corporate hierarchy. While the other members have stories of zero to hero, RM's stories arguably elite to emperor. Why is he sitting at number 2? Beating out the real estate moguls and business owners? Because his background is directly tied to one of the actual, literal Chaebol groups of South Korea. The SK group. Let's drop the bombshell that places him so high on this list. While Namjoon is humble about his roots, internet detectives and industry insiders have long pointed out that his father is a high-ranking executive at SK Telecom. For international fans, this might just sound like a phone company, but in South Korea, SK is a leviathan. It is one of the top Chaebol conglomerates that practically runs the country's economy. Being a high-level employee or executive in such a corporation places a family firmly in the golden circle of society. This explains everything. It explains the study abroad in New Zealand. Do you know the cost of sending a child to study in New Zealand to master English in the 90s? It was a luxury reserved for the families who were grooming their children for global leadership. It explains his incredible academic pressure. RM was in the top 1% of the nation in his mock exams. This is the classic Sky Castle narrative. The son of a corporate leader pushed to excel academically to inherit a legacy of success. He wasn't studying to survive. He was studying to rule. The Chaebol suspicion around RM is less about did he have toys, and more about did he have a path paved to the Blue House. The fascinating conflict here, and what makes his narrative so gripping, is his rebellion. Imagine being the son of an SK executive with a clear path to a prestigious university, a Sutantai career, and a guaranteed high salary, and then telling your father, no, I want to be an underground rapper. The clash in the Kim household must have been seismic. This wasn't a desperate boy trying to make money. This was a privileged boy rejecting the golden handcuffs of the corporate world. Yet, despite his rebellion, he couldn't shake off his upbringing. You can take the boy out of the boardroom, but you can't take the boardroom out of the boy. Look at how he manages BTS. He runs the group like a CEO. His speeches, his interviews, his conflict resolution, it is all pure corporate leadership strategy. He didn't learn that on the streets of Hongdae. He likely absorbed it at the dinner table, listening to his father discuss business strategy. He is at number 2 because he embodies the intellectual capital of the Chaebol world. He has the vocabulary, the mannerisms, and the strategic mind of an heir. Furthermore, let's look at his current flex. RM is the ultimate Archibald. While others buy cars which RM famously doesn't drive, RM buys culture. He is a major patron of the arts in Korea. He visits galleries, buys expensive moon jars and paintings by masters like Yoon Hyun, and donates large sums to cultural heritage foundations to restore old artifacts. This is the behavior of old money. It is the behavior of the Medici family. Only the truly wealthy and culturally secure spend millions on preserving history. A new money rapper buys a Lamborghini. An old money soul buys a painting that belongs in a museum. his apartment in Naingwang, Hanamu. One of the most secure and expensive fortresses in Seoul is essentially a private gallery. He lives among the elite, not just as a celebrity, but as a cultural leader. The chaebol vibe is so strong that when he enters a room, even billionaires pause to listen. He commands respect not through aggression, but through intellect, a trait highly prized in the families of top executives. So RM sits at number 2 because his chaebol connection is factual. SK Telecom. And his lifestyle is that of a modern philosopher king. He had the safety net. He had the elite education, and he had the corporate pedigree. He proves that you don't need to be the owner of the company to wield the power of the company. He is the brain of the operation. The one who navigated the legal and cultural waters to get BTS to the top. But if the son of an SK executive is only number 2, then who on earth is number 1? Who could possibly top the corporate pedigree of our... We are left with one man. The man who is often called the king of visuals. The man whose background has been the subject of the wildest, most luxurious rumors in K-pop history. Is he the son of a CEO? Is his father the supplier for Samsung? The rumors are about to be confirmed. The true prince of BTS, the one who hid his massive wealth behind dad jokes and a flying kiss, is about to be revealed. Prepare your hearts for the ultimate reveal. Number 1. Jin Kim Seok-jin, the real-life chaebol who played the fool to feed the family. The CEO's son who became the worldwide handsome king. Ladies and gentlemen, hold your breath. Sit down. Grab a glass of water, because we have reached the summit. We have climbed past the self-made millionaires, the children of educators, the sons of local business tycoons, and even the offspring of corporate executives. We are now standing at the absolute peak of the hidden wealth mountain, staring into the face of a man whose background reads like the script of a hype drama where the crown prince runs away from the palace to become a commoner. We are talking about the visual god, the man who introduced himself as worldwide handsome and made the entire world agree. The oldest brother who raised 6 wild wolves into gentleman Kim Seok-jin, the one and only Jin. Why is he number 1? Why does he wear the crown in this investigation? Because if RM is the corporate executive, Jin is the owner. The scale of the rumors surrounding Jin's family is not just about being comfortable. It is about generational wealth and industrial power. 4 years! The internet has whispered one terrifyingly impressive rumor. Jin is the son of a CEO. But not just any CEO. The rumors, though never officially confirmed by Big Hit to protect privacy, suggest his father is the CEO of a major component supplier for Samsung or a global German car manufacturer. We are talking about the kind of wealth that doesn't just buy a house. It builds a neighborhood. We are talking about the kind of background where struggle is a choice, not a destiny. Yet, the reason he sits at number 1 is not because of his father's bank account, but because of the masterclass in humility he performed for a decade. He is the prince who hid his crown in a cupboard so his brothers wouldn't feel small. Let's dissect the Gwasan prince mythology with the detail it deserves. Jin hails from Gwasan, a city known for its high standard of living and government complexes. From the very beginning, Jin's aura was different. Do you remember the story of how he was cast? He wasn't waiting in a line for hours. He wasn't busking on a street corner, desperately trying to be heard. He was getting off a bus, looking so expensive and so handsome that a casting director from SM Entertainment, the biggest agency at the time, chased him down. And what did Jin do? He ran away. He thought they were scammers. Let that sink in. A poor kid dreams of being discovered. A rich kid assumes people approaching him are trying to kidnap him or scam him. That reaction alone screams chaebol protection instinct. Later, when a big hit recruiter saw him, he was attending Konkok University, one of the most prestigious universities in Korea, studying acting. He was already on the path of the elite. He didn't need K-pop. He didn't need the money. He joined because he wanted to experience a different life. A challenge. This fundamental difference in motivation is what separates the old money mindset from the hustler mindset. But the smoking gun, the piece of evidence that sends chills down the spines of netizens, is the food. In the early days of BTS, when the company was broke, the dorm was tiny. And the food budget was non-existent. The members were surviving on cheap, sodium-filled convenience store meals. They were starving teenagers. Enter Kim Seok. Legends say that Jin used his own personal allowance and allowance provided by his parents to buy real meat, fresh vegetables, and cooking tools for the group. He didn't just buy a snack. He stocked the fridge. He cooked for them. He drove Jungkook to school. He took them to hotels for buffets and paid the bill without blinking. Do you understand the implication? His allowance was likely higher than the monthly income of an average household. He was the secret patron of BTS before they had any fans. He was the venture capitalist investing in his brother's health. There is a famous story where Jin stole food from his parents' house-expensive steaks. Pots, pans, and brought them to the dorm. It sounds funny, like a mischievous son, but it reveals that his parents' house was stocked with luxury goods that he could easily borrow. He was redistributing wealth from the chaebol sector to the idol sector. And then there is the black card reveal. This is not a drill. This is a financial fact. During a birthday, VLIVE, Jin casually revealed he pays for things using the Hyundai card, the black. Let me explain what this piece of plastic means. You cannot apply for this card. You have to be invited. It is reserved for the top 0.05% of Korean V. We're talking about vice chairman of major conglomerates, top-tier celebrities with decades of tenure, and industry titans. The annual fee alone is exorbitant, and the spending limit is practically infinite. For Jin to possess this card means his credit rating and asset evaluation are in the stratosphere. While other idols flex Rolexes, Jin flexes a credit card that acts as a key to the entire Korean economy. And let's not forget his hobbies. Golf? Skiing since he was a child? These are the sports of the boardroom. When the members went skiing in a winter package, Jin was the one teaching them. Gliding down the slopes with the muscle memory of someone who spent every winter vacation at a resort. He collects Mario merchandise, but not just toys rare, vintage, expensive collectibles. He plays MapleStory and drops thousands of dollars on in-game items just for fun. This is whale behavior. This is the spending habit of someone who knows the well will never run dry. However, the most emotional and documentary-worthy aspect of number 1 is the Great Deception. Why does Jin act the way he does? Why does he crack dad jokes? Why does he laugh like a windshield wiper? Why does he pretend to be the nagging mom? Psychologists and fans argue that this is his greatest act of leadership. If the son of a CEO walked into a dorm with 6 poor kids and acted like a prince, the group would have crumbled under the weight of hierarchy and jealousy. There would have been a wall. So, Jin lowered himself. He became the jester. He made himself the butt of the joke so that the younger members, who had nothing, could feel comfortable roasting their humor. He destroyed the class barrier with laughter. He used his privilege not to dominate, but to serve. He drove Jungkook to school, not like a chauffeur, but like a brother. He fed them not like a charity case, but like a family. He hid the chaebol reality so that the bulletproof reality could form. Today, Jin doesn't need his father's money. He is a walking economy. He buys buildings. He gives luxury apartments to his parents. He has fulfilled the ultimate filial duty of becoming even more successful than the giant who raised him. But he sits at number 1 on our list because the mystery of his background combined with the reality of his generosity creates the perfect Prince Charming narrative. He is the man who had everything, yet chose to suffer in a basement with 6 strangers to create history. He is the silver spoon who chose to eat with chopsticks made of wood just to be with his friends. The rumors of his father's company, whether it's a Samsung, supplier, or a German automotive partner ultimately matter less than the fact that Jin is a chaebol.